Hey, what's going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here to rank the 8-game NBA main slate on Monday. A couple of things before I get in the video. If you're new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos talking about NBA, NFL, and XFL daily fantasy sports. I'm also running a weekly $20 PayPal giveaway on my channel. How it works, all you have to do is leave a like and a comment in the video. That's one entering the giveaway. Max one comment up per video. So it started with my Thursday NBA video, and we'll go throughout the week. Not tomorrow, but the next Monday is where I will announce the winner to the weekly $20 PayPal giveaway. So however many videos I've uploaded for this extended week, you can end the giveaway that many times. If I have 10 videos uploaded for the week, you can end the giveaway 10 times. And again, the winner sees $20 PayPal for myself. With that out of the way, let's jump in the video. So first, we'll look back at my lineup here from Sunday night. And Sunday, I'm kicking myself for not entering more. I usually always at least play the whatever the big tournament is, and then the $40 single entry. And I just didn't have a whole lot of time today. Obviously, I wasn't able to live stream, so only played the $10 or $15 tournament, and really kicking myself because I feel like if I would have been in the single entry, it would have been close to could have been takedown season. But let's go over my plays here. So Jordan McLaughlin, Brad Beal, Eric Pascal, Brandon Ingram, Gafford, Zach LaVine, Toscana Anderson, and CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum's ownership was super surprising to me. Like I said in my video, I knew the price was up there, but I still thought he was one of the best plays, if not the best play of the day. He's got 56 right now through 3 quarters at 36% owned. Also, Jordan McLaughlin, I know he was pretty chalky, but still, he was, I said if he started, he would have been my favorite value play. He had 38 fancy points, I believe 4.3K. He was only 49% owned. That was like the top value play of the day. And then spend ups here, Brad Beal went crazy at 10% ownership, 70 fancy points. Pascal was okay. He got in some foul trouble in the first half, so a little bit disappointing, but 20 fancy points that he was 4.4, not terrible. Ingram, solid too, nothing crazy. Drew Holiday kind of took over there, but 33 fancy points at 6.8K is perfectly fine. Gafford was a cheap value play. Another guy that was in some foul trouble. Didn't kill me, but allowed me to get guys like Beal, guys like CJ, guys like Zach LaVine, who was pretty solid there, almost 50 fancy points at only 36% owned. And then my boy, Juan Toscana Anderson, only 5% owned. I brought him, Kai Bowman up as value plays. His Golden State was a super thin. And he was, I want to say like 3.3 or 3.5K, 37 fancy points. Currently I'm turning $10 into 200. I'm in, what am I, 64th place. I don't think I can win this. I guess first is 344. Probably not. I mean, I only have CJ. Like I said, I'm really kicking myself for not entering more here, but we'll see how it ends up finishing up. Hopefully I can, those winnings go up a little bit more. CJ's going nuts right now. But yeah, hopefully you guys all won some good money, and I apologize for not being able to live stream, but I will be able to live stream for this slate on Monday. So let's see if we can keep it going for this 8-game slate. Before we get into players and their prices, let's take a look at some numbers here. I believe we have 7 of the 8 games somewhat out. I mean, Hawks, 76ers, we don't have a line yet. Don't have a line for the Heat Cavs game either. The Bucks and the Wizards staying at 240.5 with the Bucks 13-point favorites. The Magic and the Nets at 212.5 with with the Nets, I should say, favored by 3. Knicks, Rockets staying at 229.5. The Rockets favored by 14. Still waiting a line there for Minnesota and Dallas. And then Phoenix, Utah is 223.5 with the Jazz 8-point favorites. All right, let's jump into this slate. So, like I said, 8 games. There's a good amount of injury news to talk about. Guys like Jimmy Butler is out. We have both Ben Simmons and most likely Tobias Harris out in one of the best possible matchups there against Atlanta. So I am all aboard Philadelphia today. But we'll talk about that more in a bit. We'll start with center, and I guess we do start with Joel Embiid. So he's one of my favorite, probably my favorite spend up of the day, right? 9.5K going up against Atlanta. No Ben Simmons, most likely no Tobias Harris. He's going to have to do it all offensively. I love Embiid. He's going to be really chalky, but just like CJ, like I said today, I was surprised how low owned CJ was. Only 36% owned. I assume Joel Embiid's going to be a lot higher owned, but I will eat the chalk and play him at this price point with those two guys out in one of the best possible spots. So love Embiid today. Most likely we'll be playing him. Let's see, Vucevic at 9.1. It's definitely a guy that has upside. He's had over 50 fantasy points the last 4 games. Brooklyn, not very scared of them defensively. I think he makes for an interesting pivot off of a high-owned Joel Embiid. I don't think you have to play Joel Embiid. I will most likely be playing him. I love the spot for him. I think you can pivot to a guy like Vucevic who does have upside. I just think Embiid is the safer play, the better play, in my opinion. But like I said, if you want to pivot for low ownership, I don't mind taking a shot there in Vucevic. You could always play both centers. I think both are in really good spots. Again, I would prefer Embiid, though. DeAndre Ayton at 8.9. He's going to play big minutes, and he does have upside. I still just think I prefer getting to Joel Embiid there. Bam Adebayo at 8.5 with no Jimmy Butler does stand out. It's just, Cleveland is just a wreck right now. They are terrible. So there's a decent shot this game doesn't stay close. So that is the concern with Bam Adebayo here at this price point. Let's see, Randall at 8.2. I have some interest in Julius Randle here against Houston. Now, I don't think he's a cash game play, but in a game like this, what's this over-under at? Let's see, 230. It's a 14-point spread, so there's definitely some blowout risk. If New York's going to keep this game close, we're probably going to see a big game from Julius Randle here. So if you're a guy that wants to target Harden or Westbrook, don't think it's the worst idea to run it back with Randle, because I would say most likely if New York keeps it close, we're going to see a pretty good game there from Julius Randle. The Cleveland situation is just to stay away. Drummond's not seeing big minutes. Kevin Love, Nance, Tom, they have too many bigs. I know 8.1 is really, really cheap. I still don't think I can get to him, though. It's probably still a stay away. Porzingis, Luka both missed that last game due to rest. Well, I think it was an ankle maybe for Luka. Let me confirm that. Was it ankle or rest for Luka? Ankle, but he's expected to be available too. So I think Porzingis is still in play because of this really, really good match against Minnesota. Minnesota's one of the worst teams. It's just there is some blowout risk here for sure. No Karl-Anthony Towns. So I think Porzingis is in play. Again, he has flashed some upside here with Luka being available. So yeah, I think he is viable at that price. Gobert's I'm just never a big Rudy Gobert guy. Get it? He just doesn't have a great offensive game. He's okay if you feel good about it against a good matchup. I really like getting into Embiid there at the top. JV's minutes been down. I don't think I can go there. Nance with Love most likely back. I'll pass. Naz Reid does intrigue me here at 5.8 because he only got 22 minutes that last game, but hit 33 against Boston. That was something we had never seen from Naz Reid. He was always a guy that was limited to 15, maybe 20 minutes, right? So him getting 33 minutes is good to see. So I think we're probably going to see somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes from him. Now, if he hits that high end, if he hits 30, I think he can definitely get you to that price. If it's a low end, a little bit more difficult. He is always a guy that's in foul trouble, right? He had 5 fouls. I didn't really watch or wasn't keeping track of this game. I would assume he was probably in some foul trouble, so that's why those minutes got limited. So that's a shot that's the risk with Naz Reid, is the foul trouble concerns. If he stays out of foul trouble like he did against Boston, he could have a really good game. It's just, what is your risk tolerance there? Triple J is out, so I'm intrigued what Memphis is going to do with the starting lineup. Now, they do have a lot of guys they can use. I'd assume it's going to be Brandon Clark here, 5.5. He played 32 minutes there against the Lakers, was really solid. The matchup itself is not really great, and there is some blowout risk here for sure. Is this game? Well, it's not out yet, the over-under. I assume, again, it's at the Clippers. Memphis has been struggling a bit, so there is some blowout risk for sure. And Memphis is like a tricky team to break down because they run a pretty deep bench. And if the bench is playing well, they will extend those guys. Guys like Tyus Jones, Josh Jackson, DeAnthony Melton, like a Gorgie Jane played well last game. So it makes it somewhat tricky. Now, again, I think there are going to be more minutes from Brandon Clark. I think he probably is the biggest beneficiary of Jaren Jackson Jr. being out. So yeah, I want to keep an eye on that starting lineup. I think there's always a shot. I guess they could run more small ball and insert like a guard or a wing in there. So we got to keep an eye on their starting lineup. I mean, if I was going to play one of these Cleveland bigs, I guess it would be Tristan Thompson, just because he's getting 26 minutes a game, and he's the cheapest of those bigs. But still, I just don't feel great about any of them. Montrez, we do have Paul George listed as questionable right now. Let me go to Paul George. He's dealing with a hamstring, so that is something to keep an eye on, because if he misses, I think there's just more minutes to go around. And we saw that last game against when he went out. Where is Montrez? Where was I at center? Yeah, sorry, I'm losing it. Yeah, so the last game against Boston, he played 44 minutes. Well, that game went to double team, but still, against Sacramento, 28 minutes, 39 fantasy points. So, this is a situation where if Paul George misses, I would like Montrez a good amount just because I think his minutes will be pretty solid, like high 20s. So, yeah, we got to keep an eye on Paul George's status for Montrezl Harrell. DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen are always, it's just so hard to predict which one's going to play more, which one's going to have the good night. They're both viable for GPPs, but again, super, super hard to predict. Brook Lopez is out for this game against Washington. That is pretty significant news. Now, the concern here is they do have a lot of other guys they can use, right? They have Robin Lopez, they have Ersan, they have Marvin Williams. So I'm probably will be the most interested in whoever starts for Milwaukee at the center position. So that's also something we got to keep an eye on. Dedmon, they're probably going to need his defense out there to guard Embiid. I think he's a viable, cheap option, but he's also another guy that's always in foul trouble, and going up against Joel Embiid doesn't help his case. Now, Horford, I'm a little bit torn here because his minutes have been really down. But, this is Atlanta, and there's no Ben Simmons and most likely no Tobias Harris. I would assume Horford probably gets 25 to 30 minutes, and at this price against Atlanta, I think he's a pretty solid play. Now, I'll talk about some other Philly guys who I like as well, but yeah, I'm intrigued what they do with the starting lineup. They've been starting Glenn Robinson the third there. Maybe they switch up, move Horford in. We'll see. I just wish they would raise PJ Tucker's price. Like 3.8 is really cheap for guys going to play 35 minutes. He's just such a low usage guy, so it's just like, I just wish they'd move him to like 4.5 to 5K so I wouldn't even have to consider it. I think he is a viable punt option just because of those minutes, but you're never going to feel great about it. Now, Kelly Olynyk does intrigue me as well, 3.7. He started the last game with no Jimmy Butler, played 26 minutes against the Cavs, and this is the same matchup, obviously. We know Cleveland runs big. If Kelly O gets a start again, I think we probably get similar minutes. I would assume, mid-20s. So if that's the case, I think he would be a pretty solid value play. Ersan, there's a chance he could start the 5. Thing is, though, he usually backs up Giannis. I would assume it's probably going to be either Robin Lopez or Marvin Williams. We'll see. Whoever does end up picking up the start, I would probably like the most there for Milwaukee. Jeff Green at 3.1, he only played 13 minutes. I don't think you can consider him. Yeah, Robin Lopez is mid-price. I guess they do have still DJ Wilson, too. We'll see what they end up doing. My best guess is it is going to be Robin Lopez that picks up a start. If that's the case, I think we probably get 25 minutes from him, 20 to 25. At mid-price, he would stand out as a really solid value play there. So, again, we got to keep an eye on what they end up doing with a starting lineup for Milwaukee. But whoever does end up picking up the start at center would have the most interest there, and a really good matchup against Washington. Giannis at 11.4. It's kind of my same analysis with him every single time. What's the line? It's 13-point favorites. The Bucks are on the road. So, it's all about what do you think Washington keeps it close. Washington is on a back-to-back. So that is, not the best news for Washington keeping it close. But, you could always run a mini game stack here. Run Beal, run Giannis. And if the game stays close, we're probably going to see big games from both. Well, Giannis is going to play good no matter what. If, Washington keeps it close, I should say, most likely to be because of Brad Beal. So, yeah, Giannis, it's kind of just, do you think Washington keeps it close? If the answer is yes, I think he's a very good spend-up play there at 11.4. John Collins had a big game the last time out, but 8.8 is too much to pay. I'll let others chase. I would just much prefer getting to Trae Young at a little bit more expensive price tag. I just like Trae Young's more consistent. He has more upside than John Collins, in my opinion. So I'll pass there on John Collins. Aaron Gordon's been playing really well, but, 45, 54, and 42 fantasy points is good to see. He's filling up the stat sheet, too. Rebounds, assists. This is a good matchup. I think he's okay. I'm still probably not going to go there, but he has been playing really, really well, and I get it if you want to play him again. Tobias Harris, I believe, is doubtful. So this is just big news. I want to load up on Philly. The question is, though, Philly does, or the concern I should say, is Philly does have a lot of guys they can use. So there's always a chance they play Horford and Josh Richardson big minutes, but everyone else kind of gets like mid-20s minutes, and then no one ends up being like a great play. But we'll talk about some other cheaper guys here in a bit for Philly. But like I said, it's one of the best possible spots, so you got to have some interest there. Kevin Love, probable. It's just a stay away for me for Cleveland right now. Covington's been really good. He's been getting big minutes. He's shooting threes. He's getting blocks, steals. He's getting the peripheral stats. 6K, I'm fine with it. Not like over the moon about it. I think he is a decent play. Marcus Morris is a guy you can consider if Paul George missed. He had a terrible game last time out against Sacramento. Still played 32 minutes, though. He's been getting the big minutes, so I wouldn't mind going to him there if Paul George is unavailable. Derrick Jones Jr. did get 27 minutes. The concern is now, Miami's not the same team. They have a lot more depth, even when Jimmy's out, right? They have Jay Crowder. They have Andre Iguodala. They have Solomon Hill they can even use. We've seen them start Kelly Olynyk. So there's no guarantee Derrick Jones Jr. is going to play big minutes. I think we probably get, mid-20s minutes from him. It is a good matchup. It's just, I don't know if I get to him even at that price. And Marvin Williams, there's always a shot he could start at the 5. We'll see what they end up doing with those Milwaukee bigs. I think that does it, though. So let's move on to small forward. Kawhi at the top at 9.7. Kind of the same thing here with Giannis. Is just there's a decent chance this game blows out for sure. Also, we have Paul George stats up there. If Paul George plays, I probably don't get to Kawhi. If Paul George misses, I would have some interest in Kawhi Leonard. Again, it's just, do you think Memphis keeps this game close? There's definitely some blowout risk there. Middleton and Bledsoe, it's a really good matchup, but these are guys I usually only get to when Giannis is out. Again, Paul George, we got to keep an eye on his status. LeVert and Dinwiddie are guys I've been liking going to recently with obviously Kyrie's out for the season. It's just this matchup against Orlando, I think there's better spots in the slate. So I'll probably pass now on both those Brooklyn guys. Hardaway, there's no way I'm getting to him at that price with Luka and Porzingis coming back. Let's see. Other options like a Jay Crowder. He'll get some decent minutes. That's a concern here with Miami, though. They have more depth, so there's no standout play with Jimmy Butler being out. I think probably my favorite would be Kelly O if he picks up the start again, just for his price tag. Again, Duncan Robinson's role doesn't really change. He'll still get low to mid-30s minutes. He'll still shoot threes. That's basically all he does. Ingles at 4.7 is always okay, but it hasn't really flashed huge upside recently. And with the emergence of Jordan Clarkson's been playing really well off the bench. He's been shooting the ball a ton. Kind of been hurting Joe Ingles. Kyle Anderson, another kind of gross play, but he could see more minutes with no Triple J. Again, I'm curious to see what Memphis does with the starting lineup. Korkmaz, so this is all about your risk tolerance with him. He has a very high ceiling, but a very low floor. I think we probably get some good minutes from him, probably at least 25. We'll shoot the ball a ton. It's just whether or not he makes his shots, because he's not going to do a whole lot other than score the ball. He's not really going to get rebounds or assists. So it's up to your risk tolerance. Are you okay taking a shot at him and knowing he has a chance he could get you 10 fantasy points? So I don't know if he's necessarily a cash game play, but you do have the upside of 30 plus, 40 plus if he's having a really good shooting night. I even don't hate Eric Gordon 3.7. He'll probably get 25 or so minutes. Good matchup against New York, so he's fine. Another guy that is kind of scoring dependent though. Glenn Robinson at 3.2, so he's been starting. Hasn't been playing big minutes, but played 20 the last game. It's a little bit tricky. If he starts, I would have some interest. It's just, he's not playing the big minutes. But, Tobias being out and Ben Simmons being out, there is a lot of minutes to go around. So I would assume those minutes probably go up for Glenn Robinson. So at 3.2, almost min price, I think he is certainly in play as a value cheap option. All right, let's move on to shooting guard. Harden at the top at 11K. There's a lot of games like this. It's just there's some definite blowout risk in this one as well. So, the Milwaukee-Washington game, there's some blowout risk. Miami-Cleveland, blowout risk. New York-Houston, blowout risk. Dallas-Minnesota, blowout risk. Memphis-the Clippers, blowout risk. There is a lot of games. It makes it a bit tricky, this slate, because there's just so much risk with a lot of these games of guys only playing 3 quarters. That's why I'm really high in Atlanta, Philadelphia. It's at Philadelphia. They're missing the 2 top players. So I think Atlanta has a pretty good shot of keeping that game close. Right now, the way I'm probably going to go is play at least a couple of Philly guys and run it back with Trae Young. Like, that's my initial thought right now for the slate. Things could change, obviously, with news opening up throughout the day tomorrow. But that's kind of the way I'm leaning towards right now. Beal, again, if you're going to target Giannis or one of those other spend ups on Milwaukee, I think you could always run back with Beal. Right, he has huge upside. Just put up 70 tonight in my lineup. So yeah, I think he is certainly in play. If you're going to play Giannis, I don't think that's the worst idea to run it back with Beal. Booker at 8K against Utah, just fine. I'm not super excited about it. Again, we have Ayton back too. Dinwiddie and him and LeVert, I've been playing a lot recently, but this is probably where I hop off here against Orlando. Donovan Mitchell at 7.5 just seems priced about right. I would much rather get to Conley for an extra couple thousand or $2,000 less. Lou Williams at 6.3. There's just a lot of mouths to feed right now. Again, this is definitely some blowout risk in that one as well. Beasley. So we do have D'Angelo Russell, I believe, is going to be back for this one. Is expected to play. So that would take Jordan McLaughlin out of play for me. Beasley will still get the big minutes, but his price is creeping up. Now he's 6K, and we have D'Angelo Russell coming back. So I still think he is viable because he's going to be that number 2 in the offense, but he's not like a standout and amazing play at his price. Clarkson's been playing amazing, and he's been shooting the ball really well. Kendrick Nunn at 5.6. I have some interest. He's been very up and down. A frustrating player to roster for sure in DFS. But on those good days, on those nights where he takes over, he has big upside. He's a guy that can get 40 plus. We saw the last game against Cleveland. It just, he's very inconsistent right now, and they have a lot of other guys that need it. If he's not playing well, they can go right to Goran Dragic. So that is concern there with Nunn. Again, the Dallas guys, I'm not getting to them with Luka and Porzingis back. Alec Burks is another one of those cheap options I would have some interest in at 4.9. Only played 21 minutes, but that game was a blowout against Milwaukee. Someone else is going to have to step up offensively besides Embiid here for Philly, and it's, again, one of the best possible spots. So I have some interest, a good amount of interest in a lot of these cheap Philly guys. Josh Richardson, too, he had an off game, but we probably get big minutes from him in a really good spot. I like Josh Richardson a good amount as a value option. Let's see, what else do we got? I mean, those cheap Memphis guys, you can always take shots on them. Melton, Tyus Jones, Josh Jackson. They're okay options. It's just, they're also up and down. I never feel great about them, but, probably at least one of those guys will have a good game. Shake Milton, another one of those value guys I think is viable. Played 22 minutes. I think that was partly due to a blowout, though. I'm curious to see what Philly does with the starting lineup, so keep an eye on it for sure with the 76ers starting lineup. All right, I think that does it for shooting guard. Let's move on to point guard. Trae Young at the top at 10.6. I like a good amount here. He's playing big minutes. Philly with no Ben Simmons is not as good defensively. I just really like this game in general. I really like Embiid. I like some of those cheap options Philly I've talked about. I think running it back with Trae Young is not a bad idea at all because Trae Young has huge upside. Again, Ben Simmons being out, that does help him as well. So I do like Trae Young a good amount there as a spend up. Luka Doncic I like as well at 10.5. My concern here is that Minnesota can't keep it close. But if Minnesota can, Doncic has enormous upside at 10.5. Like, he is too cheap. He is way too cheap at this price point, again, in this matchup. I think, another way I could going about this slate is play D'Angelo Russell, run it back with Luka. If Minnesota's going to keep it close, we're probably going to see a big game from D'Angelo Russell. And obviously Luka most likely has a big game no matter what. And if the game stays close, he could have a huge game. So that's another way you could go about this slate. And Westbrook, Harden, kind of the same thing. Do you think New York keeps it close? There's some definite blowout risk there. D'Angelo Russell, just kind of talked about him, right? If you're going to target Luka or Porzingis, I should say, you're confident this game stays close. If that's the case, most likely because of D'Angelo Russell. So there's a lot of these scenarios tonight, right? Like, I'll finish it off once I get through point guard. But there's a lot of those scenarios for this slate because there's just a lot of blowout risk. We have Elfrid Payton and Ntilikina both questionable. That could open up some value here. If both those guys are out, Dennis Smith Jr. would be the only point guard of the roster. I would assume we'd probably get at least 20 minutes from him, so he'd be one of the better value plays of the day. Got to keep an eye on that news. Other options here. Let's see. Rubio, revenge spot at 6.4. Did have a big game finally from him. He's fine if you're big into the revenge game narratives. Don't think I get to Reggie Jackson at that price. Dragic's okay with no Jimmy Butler. If Kendrick Nunn's not playing well, they can give more minutes to Dragic. McLaughlin was one of my favorite plays tonight. Not going to get to him if D'Angelo Russell plays. I do like Mike Conley a lot here at 5.3. Draftkings is just not raising his price. I've been all about him the last few weeks here. 34 minutes against Denver, 42 fantasy points. 31 minutes, 32 fantasy points. 34 minutes, 35 fantasy points. 34 minutes, 32 fantasy points. He's filling up the stat sheet. He's scoring the ball. He's playing well. It's a really good matchup against Phoenix. So I do like Mike Conley a lot there at that price. But I think that really does it. So, brief overview again, guys. Milwaukee, Washington. There's some blowout risk here on the Milwaukee side. I like whoever starts at the center position for Brook Lopez, whether it be Robin Lopez or Ersan or Marvin Williams. I think Giannis is a really good spend up. It's just, do you think the game stays close? On the other side, it's pretty much Brad Beal for me, and that's it. If you're going to target Giannis, I don't think it's the worst idea running back with Beal. Atlanta, Philly, I really like this game. Love Embiid at the top. Those other value guys I've talked about, like Horford, Josh Richardson, Alec Burks, Korkmaz, Glenn Robinson, Shake Milton. Those are all guys that are certainly viable in one of the best possible spots on the Atlanta side. It's kind of Trae Young for me, and that's it, but I like him a good amount as a spend up. Don't mind running that mini game stack. It's all kind of loading up in Philly, like 3 or 4 guys there, then running back with Trae Young. Miami, Cleveland, it's a little bit tricky. There's some definitely blowout rest here. The Cleveland side, I'm kind of staying away from everyone. Miami side, there are some interesting plays. Kelly O, if he starts again, would be one of the better value plays in my opinion. Other options that are viable, Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic, Bam, if you think the game stays close. Orlando, Brooklyn, not super excited about this one. If you want to pivot off Embiid, I don't hate going to Vucevic, but I'm probably going to play Embiid. I just like his upside a lot more. Aaron Gordon's okay too. He's been playing really well if you want to continue to ride that hot hand. Brooklyn's probably a stay away from me in a bad spot. LeVert and Dinwiddie have been guys who have been playing a lot recently, but probably going to hop off tonight. New York, Houston, kind of the same thing, right? On the New York side, you have Randall. If you're going to target either Harden or Westbrook, don't think it's the worst idea running back with Randall. We also have to keep an eye on the point guard status, right? If Alfred Payton and Ntilikina can't go, I think Dennis Smith Jr. become a really solid value play. On the Houston side, again, those 2 guards, are you confident this game stays close? If you are, you could definitely play one of those guys in a really good match against New York. Minnesota, Dallas. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if you're going to target either Luka or Porzingis, I don't think it's a bad idea to run it back with D'Angelo Russell because most likely we're going to see a big game from him if Minnesota keeps it close. Beasley's viable. Naz Reid is viable too. The risk with him, though, the foul trouble issues. On the Dallas side, I really like Luka as a spend up. It's just, are you confident Minnesota keeps this game close? I also think Porzingis is viable as well. No one else I'm really interested in. On the Phoenix side, kind of a stay away from me. Nothing really stands out there against Utah. On the Jazz, I really like Mike Conley at his price. I think he's one of my favorite plays there. Memphis and the Clippers, we have no Triple J. I'd assume Brandon Clark starts, but they could always do something else. So we got to keep an eye on that starting lineup. On the Clippers side, we have Paul George status up in there. If he misses, and make Kawhi Leonard more viable, make Montrezl Harrell more viable, make Marcus Morris more viable. It's just, are you confident Memphis keeps this game close? There's definitely some blowout risk. This whole slate is, or most of the games in the slate there's a lot of blowout risk. So it's kind of a tricky one for sure. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you have been enjoying the content, would really appreciate if you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I am so close to 3,000 subscribers, or 2.99 thousand subscribers. So if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. I will be live streaming for this slate 45 minutes before lock, so be sure to check out the live stream, guys. I'll go over all the news we get throughout the day, answer any questions you guys have, and kind of give you guys my core plays for the night. So thanks again for everyone to come and check the video. Really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys all tomorrow in the live stream.